Our guest is United States Senator from the great state of Texas, John Cornyn. Senator Cornyn, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you, Michael.
You occupy a very important position of leadership within the Senate generally, and within the Senate Republicans. Obviously, this is an issue that is on your radar. Could you catch us up, I guess, the basics of Fast and Furious for people that may only know a little bit about that, and then catch us up to where we are today?
This was a misguided plan to allow straw purchases of bulk weapons in the United States from legitimate outlets and to let them, quote, walk, close quote, via illegal transfer of these weapons to drug cartels in Mexico. The theory, I think, was to then be able to trace those weapons in order to find the distribution routes. Unfortunately, in December 2010, Brian Terry, a U.S. law enforcement agent, was killed in Mexico with one of those weapons, and people began putting the pieces together. 11 different crime scenes in the United States these weapons have shown up at. But as often happens in Washington, D.C., instead of coming clean and telling us what he knows and explaining the apparent contradictions in his sworn testimony and the written record, Attorney General Holder has simply chosen to try to stonewall this thing, hoping it'll go away. And it may very well be that the cover-up is worse than the original offense in the first place.
Senator Cornyn, so that we understand the details of exactly what happened, who were was it the ATF who went in and purchased these guns?
Yeah, this was originally started it looks like in Phoenix, the ATF there, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which is part of the Department of Justice. It's not exactly clear exactly what happened, except we do know that even in Houston there were some reported purchases from legitimate gun retailers in bulk. And when they called the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, said this is a suspicious purchase, they were told just let it go because that was actually part of the ATF's plan to let these guns be distributed then to the cartels in Mexico and then presumably trace them. But this thing has gone terribly awry. We know at least one American is dead as a result of that. 11 different crime scenes these guns have turned up. And the Attorney General swore that he first heard about this in April of 2011. That was 5 months after Brian Terry was killed in Mexico with one of these weapons. We find out today, CBS News has reported that the number 2 at the Department of Justice, the Deputy Attorney General, was briefed in detail on this program, Fast and Furious, in March of 2010. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, some apparent contradictions between the sworn testimony and the evidence, and Attorney General Holder needs to come to Capitol Hill, and if he's got an innocent explanation for this, tell us. But he can't keep covering this up because this is just dripping out, and it's not going to go away.
Senator John Cornyn is our guest. How many guns are we talking about, Senator?
I think there are about 2,000 guns is the best estimate we have right now. But these are pretty sophisticated weapons that are much in demand by the drug cartel in that very violent drug war that they're having down in Mexico. Killed probably close to 40,000 people so far.
And we've captured, sounds like you're telling me, a couple dozen. So there are still how many guns in the hands of cartels?
Well, we're not clear. It could be hundreds. It could be more than 1,000. There were, Michael, last Friday, I believe it was, there was a box of weapons that showed up at a warehouse that were part of this distribution program, Fast and Furious, that apparently had been stored there waiting for distribution. So it's not clear what guns are still in the pipeline or in storage, which ones actually made their way to the cartel. All we know is that some of them did, because one of them killed an American citizen. And in 11 different crime scenes in the United States, these guns have shown up. And this is a terribly bad idea, run amok.
Senator Cornyn, was this something that the United States government has done in the past? Is it our policy to put guns in the hands of cartels and wait till they kill someone and figure out what happened? I mean, what do we gain from this?
Well, that's what I'd like to ask Attorney General Holder, who has claimed not to know anything about this. You saw yesterday that the President of the United States said he had complete confidence in Eric Holder. Well, he may be the only one who has complete confidence in Attorney General Holder, and he needs to clear this up. Everybody makes mistakes, and if General Holder will come to the Hill and answer questions, my party is in the minority. We can't compel him to do so in the Senate. The House could, and in fact, he has testified in the House, but then that's where his sworn testimony that he learned about this in April 2011 is contradicted by the written record, showing that he had written reports across his desk on at least 5 occasions which contained this information. He said he got the report, but he didn't understand the significance of it. So this is really getting worse, not better, and I think the best thing that could happen would be for the Attorney General to come to Capitol Hill and clear it up if he can, and if not, accept the responsibility.
With the legislative branch investigating, at some point, doesn't this need to end up in the hands of a prosecutor?
Well, that's one of the big questions. I know that Lamar Smith, who's chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, has said perhaps a outside counsel needs to be appointed to investigate this because, of course, right now it's being investigated by the same people who could possibly be responsible for it, and that is Eric Holder's Department of Justice. And it's hard to believe that they would do justice to their own investigation if, in fact, it implicated people at the Department of Justice. So that's one possibility. But I think before we get to that step, then the intermediate step would be for the Attorney General to come forward and clear this up. The President says he has complete confidence in Eric Holder. The evidence we have in front of us is contradictory and appears that there is cover-up underway. And if there's a simple, innocent explanation, then I think the Attorney General would serve his own interest well and serve the public's interest by testifying under oath and answering some of these questions to clear it up. Because, as you said, one possibility is that an offense, a crime has been committed, but there may be an innocent explanation. I haven't quite been able to make up my mind yet based on what we have in front of us, but the Attorney General could short-circuit this and clear it up.
Senator Cornyn, I want to switch to the issue of Solyndra and green loans. Where is the Solyndra case since they refused to come before Congress?
Well, as you know, this was a $500 million, $535 million loan guarantee to a solar company that's now gone bankrupt and is under investigation by criminal authorities. This is part of a almost $36 billion federal effort to invest in green technologies that you hear the president talking so much about. But apparently there hasn't been much of an effort to try to vet the viability of these companies in the commercial marketplace. And unfortunately, you see not only do these companies go under because they don't have a viable business model, but the U.S. tax dollars coming out of your pocket goes down the tube with them. So this is a growing scandal because today the head of the Energy Department's loan program announced he was stepping down in the midst of this probe.
The state attorneys general are the ones who brought the case against Obama, that case now before the United States Supreme Court. From a legal, not a political perspective, your thoughts on where they rule?
Well, the issue is, can the federal government tell you have to purchase a government-approved product, in this case a health insurance product, and if you don't do it, can they fine you for it? If the federal government can do this, Michael, there is no limitation at all in terms of what the federal government can do in intruding into your life. And of course, this is complete contradiction and the opposite of what the 10th Amendment of the Constitution says, which says that all powers not expressly delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states and the people. But this is a power grab by Washington, and one that I hope the Supreme Court will stop.
Last question, I'll make it quick. You're involved in the Senate efforts to win a majority in the United States Senate. What states are you most hopeful? Obviously, you'd like to win everyone. What states are you most hopeful? Is it Missouri? Where is it that you think we can win?
Of course, we want to make sure we hold on to what we have, and that includes Scott Brown's race in Massachusetts, Dean Heller's race in Nevada, and, of course, Kay Bailey Hutchison's seat right here in Texas. And, of course, I feel very good about that. But going on offense, I think you can start with North Dakota, Montana, Nebraska, Wisconsin. The challenge this time is going to be, Michael, is that there's a lot of primaries. Many of them don't conclude, unlike ours in Texas, many of them don't conclude until August, even September of 2012. So this is going to be a constantly moving target. But I can tell you with the president's approval rating now down at 41% and even lower in some of these states, it's going to be very tough on the Democratic incumbent to get reelected. So we're going to keep the pressure on.
Senator John Cornyn, thanks for being our guest. You're welcome back anytime.